Today, my featured guest is Matt Birk. Matt Birk is a NFL Super Bowl champion. You can find him at mattburkandcompany.com, mattburkandcompany.com. Now, for all my listeners out there, Protestants, Catholics, Matt is a Catholic. He's a husband, he's a father, he's a Harvard graduate, 15-year professional football player, NFL veteran, and as I mentioned, Super Bowl champion. Now, Matt Birk was raised Catholic, but fell away, like many do, from the faith in college. He enjoyed worldly success during the first few years of his NFL career, but was still wandering and thus not fulfilled. When an evangelical team chaplain challenged the Catholic Church, Matt went on his personal search for truth and ultimately claimed his Catholic faith as his own. Matt not only fell in love with the church, he lived out his faith during his football career. Matt was recognized for his community service work by winning the prestigious Walter Payton NFL Man of the Year Award in 2011. Upon winning the Super Bowl in 2013, Matt declined an invitation to go to the White House, citing that then President Barack Obama's support for Planned Parenthood as the reason. Matt strives to not only talk about the faith, but to live it as well. Matt and his wife, Adriana, live in St. Paul, Minnesota, with their 8 children. 8 children. That's so Catholic. Matt, welcome to Broken Catholic, #1 podcast on iTunes for Protestants and Catholics. Go ahead and fill in some of the gaps in that intro, would you?
Just an awshucks kid from St. Paul, Minnesota. Wasn't any good at sports, obviously. That's why I became an offensive lineman. Was kind of think growing up just pretty much remarkably average in just about every way. And then, in high school, really benefited from some people taking an interest in me, some teachers, some coaches. Discovered 2 gifts that God gave me, which was getting in people's way and grabbing onto them, which is good for an offensive lineman. And, went to Harvard and then went to the NFL, which is not a very traditional path. Like you said, actually I ended up winning a Super Bowl. I mean, every time you read that, every time I hear that, it just kind of feels like that's it really does feel like that's somebody else. I mean, I know that happened and that is my life, but it's also kind of surreal to be retired for 8 years now and to be on the back end of that and to look back, it's like, wow, that actually happened. That's kind of crazy.
Wow. Praise God for that. So listen, it's uncommon to have brains and brawn, so to speak, right? So Harvard grad and then NFL champion, like that's very rare to say the least,
Listen,
right? Go ahead.
it's rare, but Harvard likes to win football games too, so they might lower the standards a little bit if they feel like you might be able to help them out. Listen, there's 2 types of football players at Harvard. There's guys that didn't need football to get in, and then there's guys that did. And I mean, I got good grades. I got very good grades, but Harvard that's elite, right? These are the elite students. I don't think I would have gotten into Harvard had I not been able to play in the trenches on the football field. But but that's okay.
Yeah, got it. All right, let's get into your story. But before we do, take a minute, share something personal about you that very few people in your business life actually know.
I would say that I struggle with insecurity, about myself. Just my competency, my skills. I feel like I always kind of doubt myself. Wonder if I have do I have what it takes? I guess kind of say if I could wave a magic wand. I wish I could have a little more confidence in certain professional situations.
My listener is listening right now and they're saying, this is Matt Birk, NFL Super Bowl champion. What do you mean you're lacking confidence? What do you mean you have self-doubt? Like, go a little deeper with us. Where's that come from?
Um, I don't know where it comes from, but it's just true. And I'm not somebody that's afraid of failure. I don't think, I mean, everything's a spectrum, right? We want to make everything binary, like yes, no, white, black. It's not the case. I've failed a lot. in my life. And it's like I said, when I was a kid, I was the short, fat kid. Teachers
Mm.
thought I had a learning disability. Like, I maybe some behavioral issues. Like, it wasn't like I was getting gold stars every day. So I was okay with quote failing or being mediocre or below average. And it doesn't scare me to fail, I think, in most cases. But I don't know, I guess maybe, I feel like that there is an expectation because, oh, you went to Harvard and I've seen you on TV or I listened to you on the radio or whatever, that, in certain situations, like I'm supposed to be this kind of it guy, like people are
Mm.
supposed to meet me and say, oh my gosh, that guy, he's unbelievable. And I hate to, burst the bubble, but I'm just a guy, I mean, literally wake up every day or go to bed every night and thinking, geez, I screwed up 100 things today. I'm a husband, so that's hard. Got eight
Eight
kids,
kids.
eight
Eight
kids.
kids.
That's hard. Business is, I'm an entrepreneur. That's hard. So it's not like I go to bed or wake up saying, boy, I am just killing it. This life thing, I am killing it. It's actually just the opposite.
Wow. Thank you for being transparent about that. I think that gives a lot of us permission to be okay, right?
I
Like
hope
it's
so.
okay to show up imperfect in your life, and to think that you can be perfect is an illusion. It's a mirage. So, Matt, let's go back in time here. Let's go back to your 20s, right? You grew up in faith with the Catholic tradition, and then fell away in college, like many do. I think the stat right now is from the Catholic space is like 80%, 75, 85%
Crazy.
of Catholic young people leave the faith at during their college years. What happened on the inside of you that made that happen in your life?
I knew just going to Catholic school, and I was going to church on Sundays. We never missed church. I knew who made me, what he did for me, what he expected of me. I knew God loved me. I knew all that. I was taught by nuns. I'm that old. It was good. But, as Catholics, and a lot of Catholics to be able to relate to this, you do all these things. You don't really know why you're doing them. We do have a generation, maybe two generations now, that really weren't catechized properly. So you do it out of duty. But being a kid, those seeds were planted in my heart about God and about Jesus. And like I said, I was pretty average, and then it's kind of started having some success and some recognition, and people were patting me on the back, telling me how great I was doing. So I leave high school and I went to Harvard, and here I'm playing college football at the best university in the country or in the world. As they'll tell you, it's the best in the world. They'll remind you constantly that you're at the best university in the world. And that first week we practiced football, woke up Sunday morning, had the day off, and I was kind of waiting for somebody to say, hey, let's go to church. And nobody said it. And so I didn't go. And I thought, to myself, I justified it by saying, yeah, I've done that my whole life. Like, I already know all that, right? And I'm so busy, and look at all these great things I'm doing. I started to kind of fall for the allure of some, worldly things. And
Mm.
again, this kind of goes on for a while, for 4 years in college. Every time I came home, people were telling me, gosh, geez, you're going to Harvard, you're playing football. You're doing great. And they kept patting me on the back, and just kept me falling in love more with myself and with worldly things and worldly success. And then I get drafted by the Vikings. And so it's, hometown team. And now I'm like, as far as offensive lineman go, I'm a really big deal, right? Because a lot of people knew me before just because I'm from here, and now I'm playing for the Vikings. And I'd just I'd land the plane like this. I'd say about 4 years into my career, I had more worldly success than I ever thought was possible. The biggest contract in the history of the NFL, hometown team. There's a hamburger named after me in St. Paul. Like that's for a lineman, that's about as double patty, of course. It's like as big
Is
as
it
it
good?
gets.
Is it good?
Oh, it's double patty with pepper jack cheese and mayonnaise. It's fantastic.
Just like me.
Yeah, yeah. But I was dying on the inside. I was so empty, and I kind of relate a little bit to Saint Augustine, who's one of the early church fathers. But he tried everything else, and he's like, all right, I'm just not happy. I guess I'll give God a try, right? Became like this intellectual giant of the church. That was kind of me, right? It was like God, he made me and he knew me. So he was like, I'm not going to bring you to your knees with some, horrible crisis or adversity. I'm just going to give you everything you want. So he must not think very highly of me. But no, I just knew that I was miserable on the inside, and something was wrong. And of course, at the same time, this woman enters my life who I become rather smitten with, and she ends up becoming my wife. And I joke around. I say when I met my wife, I had a drug problem, and my wife drugged me back to church. And she was a Catholic as well, but it kind of strayed, and so we kind of started the journey back together. And what really, I never had like this Saul-like moment where I was knocked, from the horse and blinded, but probably the most intense moment where it was like, you need to figure this out, dude, is when our first daughter was born. And first of all, I was cognizant of the fact that I had just witnessed a miracle when our first daughter was born. I don't think ever in my life I had thought that before, but yeah, I don't know. We didn't watch the videos when I was in high school. So when I saw this, I was like, wait, what was that? How did that just happen? Right. And then it's like, this happens millions of times a day. It doesn't mean it's not a miracle. And that was like, okay, it's not just about me and, my selfishness, which I was still very selfish, still struggle with selfishness today. But I had a wife, but now this innocent baby. And I'm like, I gotta do something. And so that's when I went back to football shortly thereafter. Like 2 weeks later, went to training camp. And for those that don't know, the locker room in the NFL, it's a very spiritual place. I don't know, I'd say, half the guys have Bibles in their lockers, and they actually open them up and use them. Is
that still the case today, you think?
It is 100%, because
Wow.
this is why, Joe, because football is really hard. And it's really dangerous, whether guys want to admit it or not. And they're football, but they're just guys. They're just like everybody else. These are young guys. They're trying to figure it out. Everyone's on their own walk. Some are further ahead than others, but it's like there's a lot going on. And I think at the end of the day, no matter, you figure it out pretty quickly. Maybe not right away in the NFL because you're young and you're just super dumb. Not just dumb, but you're super dumb. But you're built for beauty, goodness, and truth, right? Like that's God, and he made us, and that's what's in our hearts. And like you figure out that the NFL, it's not real. The money's not real, the fame, I mean, all that stuff, it's like, I mean, I know I'm funny, but I mean, when I played in the NFL, I told jokes, like everybody would just belly laugh. It's like, I'm not that funny. And so every team I played on, you've got all these guys who are, intentionally trying to further their walk. Every team I played on had a team chaplain. 3 of the 4 coaches I played for were Catholics. We had Catholic mass. So we had Bible studies like Mondays, couple studies, Thursdays, Saturday nights in the hotel, Bible study, Sunday morning mass. Like there's all these opportunities to grow in your faith in the workplace, which is pretty rare these days, I think. And so I went back to practice. I had as you mentioned in the bio, great teammate, friend of mine, Protestant, who was like, hey man, he always invited me to Bible study and I never went. And then he invited me. And I was like, yeah, let's go. And he started me on the way back. So football, people are like, oh, it's so great. You played football, you made money and won a Super Bowl. It's like, yeah, that stuff's fine. But the best thing that football did for me was it brought me back to my faith.
Powerful, brother. Similar to you, my Protestant brothers brought me back to my own faith. And it's amazing how God works. That's why I do this show. And that's why I unify Protestants and Catholics and say, listen, we're all brothers in the same family of God with the same Father that we worship.
Amen.
Like, seriously, like just because you have a different room than me or it's painted differently, like we're still in the Father's house. So we might as well learn to get along and fight the common enemy out there that's trying to take out our family.
Yes, you're so right. I mean, there's no question. I think it's part of the devil's strategy, right? Is to divide us Christians and get us fighting amongst ourselves. But I've had My kids have gone to a Baptist school before. Lived in Florida for 2 years. In fact, last week I just did an event with Kirk Cousins, the quarterback for the Minnesota Vikings, a Fellowship of Christian Athletes event, which I've done a lot of Fellowship of Christian Athletes stuff, and did an event with him. And learned, I mean, there were a couple of Bible verses that he talked about that I was like, maybe I'd heard, 100 years ago and forgot. I've learned so much about my faith, and having Protestant brothers. I mean, as friends, like in my life, it's just helped me grow in my faith and my love for, and my love for Jesus. And, it's, I agree. We're all on the same team. Maybe the tea that we drink is just a little bit different. We drink our coffee a little bit differently, but it's all the same. And I think we should embrace that.
I agree. I like what you said. We're all on the same team. We just have different positions, but we all think like, oh, you should play my position. You should be just like me. No, we all have distinct positions. That's what makes us a great team. I married a Southern Baptist. And I took it up a notch. And, God has healed our family
Mm,
tremendously, because there was so much division in the beginning of just all this generational ignorance of the different denominations, etc.
sure.
And we just prayed for God to come in and heal it all and just love on everybody. And now we're just one cohesive family who have different ways to worship the same God. And it's a beautiful thing. So I've seen it happen in my own family. I know it can happen at
That's awesome.
scale,
That's
right? So
awesome.
it's a beautiful thing. So back to your story here. So NFL, what about now? Like, where have you resisted God the most in his plan for your life? Even after your reversion back to the church, back to the faith, where have you resisted, and where are you cooperating in a powerful
Mm.
way?
Well, this will probably be the hardest question I have today, or at
Fantastic.
least this morning. I still do kind of. I mean, I am driven, by success to a certain extent. I want to. I mean, I've always been a hard worker, a grinder. I can remember I worked at a golf course when I was a kid, like in middle school. And you could just kind of show up and you could show up and caddy whenever you wanted, right? I remember my parents sitting me down. I think I was in like the 8th grade. And they were like, look, you don't have to go to the golf course every single day, all day and work. But that's what my parents did. And that's what I saw. They're extremely hardworking. And so, but that's me. It's like, so I work. I mean, my wife was like, why are you working? So why are you doing all this stuff? And I'm like, well, part of it is I feel there are certain projects. It's easy to say, well, I am doing this for the glory of God. I started a Catholic high school, which I'm sitting here right now. We're in a Catholic high school, do different things. But I am driven by, I do like to achieve. And that's a very slippery slope. I mean, we all want to be successful. We all want to win, right? We're guys. We're American. Who wants to lose? But I can get wrapped around the axle, where it becomes that in the moment that becomes the most important thing to me.
Mm.
Like I just want to grind this and push, to use a football analogy, right? Get the ball over the goal line. I don't care how hard. I just want to go do it. And well, that trait that helps you become a good football player. That can also lead to a very miserable life, right? I
Mm.
mean, if you're so hyper focused on whatever project you're working on that you forget when you come home to be that husband that you're supposed to be, to be the father, even if you're physically there, to mentally and
Yeah.
spiritually be somewhere else and spiritually be, out to sea.
So let me
I think
jump in
that's
right there and ask another deeper question. How do you know that the plays that you're running in your life, starting the Catholic high school and the other projects, we'll call them plays like on the football field. How do you know those plays are coming from God, the quarterback, and
yeah.
not from your own mind or from the enemy?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, I would love to say that, well, before I do anything, I take it to prayer and discern. Um, but I get excited. I'm emotional. I can be impulsive. And so certainly guilty of just getting caught up in the moment and maybe doing like a little ready, fire, aim, you know? But there are times, so there, I guess maybe where I'm getting to is like, there almost daily, I will feel overwhelmed. And it's
Mm.
like, you kind of like, let's say you wake up and you're going, you think, oh no, like there's a lot going on and that things aren't going the way I want. And, God, oh no, God, I'm sorry. And I don't know. And you kind of get to that point where it just becomes, you hit overwhelmed. And then it's, I didn't want to get overwhelmed. And then you're like, oh, God, I'm overwhelmed. I can't do it, and that's when that's when you get to where you need to be, which is you give it up to God and you're like, all right, I don't know, this project might blow up. This thing might not work. I don't know if but I'm not going to worry about the results anymore. All I'm going to do is be faithful, be prayerful, try to do the next right thing by you. That's all. I can't keep, that's where I get really in trouble, Joe, is when I start thinking down the road and how I want this to turn out, how I want that to turn out. And, where I start thinking like in some ways that I can control it, or that I should even worry about it or think about it, that I should just be, right here in the moment, connected to God and being the person that he calls me to be, and then acting accordingly with who's ever across the table from me. Like that's all I should really be focused on.
Mm. Yeah, it's all the should be's in our life, right? But then how we actually show up is sometimes in conflict. What is the vision that you see that God's revealed to you for his calling on the rest of your life? What's that
Mm.
vision for your future?
There's one thing I will say. I do, as far as like long-term plans, I've never really had a long-term plan. I am okay with, I mean, I never thought I'd go to Harvard, never thought I'd play 15 years in the NFL, never thought I'd start a Catholic high school, never thought I'd have like, 5 businesses. I mean, I don't know. I think at the end of the day, I just want to, if I were to kind of articulate what's my purpose outside of, on earth here to know, to love, and to serve God. What does that look like, to get a little more specific? It's that I want to spread joy. I want to be a force for good. Obviously, my vocation, as we would talk about it, is as a husband, as a father. Those are souls that God has entrusted to me here on earth that I need to return to him. So those kinds of things. But the way I look at life is, it's hard. It's supposed to be hard. That's the point. That number one, that's the point, which I think a lot of people miss. That's a message that our culture is not talking about. We're this postmodern, post-Christian world time period that we live in now, which, the smart people talk about. We're really about consumption, comfort, pleasure. These are the times we're living in as Christians. Where you go to church as Christians, we know that's not the point of life. That there's a struggle. So life is hard, but at least it's short. It really is. It's the great thing is it's short. I mean, if you live to be 100 years, that's not long. That's not long. So don't, that helps me put it into perspective, where as much as possible, don't think about yourself. Think about others. And the one thing football taught me too is you can always do more than you think you can do. So a lot of times it's like, even when this Catholic high school project kind of came to be, there was a part of me saying, wait, hold on, you got so much going on. Like, what are you doing? But at the same time, it just kind of felt like there was a need, and God was putting all these things in front of me where like, this could happen. Not you can do this, but you can say yes to this, and like God will provide, and he did. And so, right. It's like, we're just called to be faithful, right? If we think that that's what God's calling us to, you just say yes, and he'll give you the endurance, the wisdom, whatever you need to do that, to do his will on earth. He'll give it to you. So I guess that's kind of my thing, is like, just keep saying yes. Sometimes it gets in a little bit of trouble, get a little overextended. Wife gets a little upset, but just keep saying yes to good things. And I don't know. That's just like,
Got it.
that's it.
No, that's good. So, what is your daily game plan to keep you in alignment with God, with His plan for your life, rather than you following the shiny objects that
Yeah.
happen to pop up?
I mean, obviously it starts with prayer, starts and ends with prayer.
What does
Pretty
it
good
look like?
start.
What's your daily
So I'm an
routine?
early riser because it's the only time it's
Mhm.
quiet in my house. My kids now, they're at the age where they stay up. I can't stay up later than they can. So if I don't get up early, then I'm getting no time. There's no quiet time. So for sure, I'll wake up and probably spend, I don't know, 20, 30 minutes in prayer. I've got my daily devotionals, right? Do the readings from the mass, all sorts of, I mean, to the Catholics out there. And we have so many we have so much stuff. Well, we're never going to get through all of it. I mean, there's priests there's bishops that don't know all of it. There's so much that you can just keep digging and finding. But stay current with the calendar of the church and the readings and the gospel at mass. And I am, I'm an extroverted person. I meet with a lot of people. I love people, radio, TV, blah, blah, blah. But, I really, when I'm focused in, when I'm at my best, it's, whether I'm in the car or maybe it's just 5 minutes before a meeting and really taking time, not listening to the radio or on social media or always checking emails, but taking those they can be like 60-second breaks during the day and just use
Mm.
that to pray, to stop, to center. A friend of mine's he's got a great saying. He goes, you always want to keep the faucet on. The prayer faucet always needs to be on. And I find that life works when that faucet's on for me all throughout the day. There are days too where it's like you get going and you forget, and all of a sudden it's like 7 o'clock at night, and you're like, oh my gosh, I prayed this morning, and then I don't even remember praying one time today. It just went like 12 hours and did not like, well, that didn't work out. But I was trying to keep that faucet on, and then it's for Catholic-y stuff. Go to hit a daily mass once a week. Do 1 hour of Eucharistic adoration a week. I have a men's group. We meet every Saturday morning. I guess that's not Catholic-y, but those kinds of things. And you know what? I need every single one of those things. And
Mm.
I'd share this, and hopefully this helps somebody out there. Because I'm kind of this achievement guy, right? Like I always want to climb the ladder. I used to think like, when am I going to get to the point where it's like, I got it, like I see these, I have people that I look up to where they are spiritually in their lives, and it's like, it looks like they got it all together. Right. I'm like, when am I going to get there? And I realized about like, I don't know, maybe a year ago, I was like, I'm never going to get there. Right? And that's kind of the point, like this, kind of the idea of this spiritual poverty. It's like I never realized. I mean, I'll admit this: the Sermon on the Mount and the Beatitudes. It said, "Blessed are the poor in spirit." I never really knew what that meant until I came across it about a year ago, and it just talked about spiritual poverty, and like it's just like that. I am nothing. I am nothing,
Mm.
and that, and then all I should just want is just to whatever God wants. That titles, Super Bowl, whatever, name any, I'm nothing, right? And that idea of spiritual poverty, where it really is like it's an unbelievable place to be. I mean, it's scary, it's euphoric, it's everything, but it's true. And then it's just kind of that reminder that like every single day I'm starting at zero, I'm resetting, starting at zero, and I need to fill myself up with God, with prayer, with the sacraments, with the rosary, whatever that is. I don't know. It's just a good. It's always a good place to start is on your knees and see where it goes from there.
Matt, I think you presented that really well. It creates a spiritual dependency on God that's necessary. Otherwise, we get too full of ourselves, our own ego, and our own achievement, right?
You say it way better than I do. I take like 3 minutes to say this disjointed, inarticulate, and then you just kind of sum it all. I guess that's why you're the guy with the number one podcast, because you're good with the words and stuff.
The words and stuff,
The words and stuff.
Praise God for that. I wasn't, but every now and then we get one right. So, Matt, welcome to my favorite part of the show. Welcome to the confession round.
Oh, okay.
Oh, that's so heavy. I'm going to ask you 10 quick fire questions. You'll have about 3 seconds to answer each. Don't overthink it. It's just for fun. Are you ready, sir?
I'm ready.
Let's go. What's your favorite thing about God?
He loves me no matter what.
That's a beautiful thing. What's your least favorite thing about God?
That he knows me better than I know myself.
Yeah. What are you most afraid
of? These are not easy. These aren't 3-second questions, Joe.
They're 3 seconds questions. They're just not easy.
What am I most afraid of? I'm not going to say spiders, just, looking back, regret. Looking back one day I'm regretting.
Yeah, I got that. We're all struggling with something, I believe, at every moment of our life. It's just part of the human condition. What are you currently struggling with, either professionally or personally?
It's just selfishness. It's just thinking about me and my stuff more than my wife and my kids.
Got it. What did you spend way too much time doing this past year?
Twitter. So I gave it up for Lent and I'm never going back.
Nice. What secret fear do you have about people?
Secret fear that I have about people. I guess that they don't like my jokes, because I fashion myself to be kind of a funny guy and I do stand-up comedy, but someone that doesn't have a good sense of humor, I feel like it's just really like that's a comic's worst nightmare, right? Is telling a joke and nobody laugh.
I did a talk via Zoom last week, and what I did, I opened with a joke, and what I didn't realize was that there was a 3-second delay with the connection. Bro, when I delivered the punchline and everyone's face just didn't move, I was like, okay, that didn't go. And then 3 seconds later, they're all busting out like, oh, that was funny. Okay. Yeah. What do you wish you had learned sooner about God?
That he's a very loving father, that it's not about all the rules.
Amen to that. Big lesson there. What's a new habit you want to create in your life, Matt?
New habit I want to create. I need to exercise a little more. I'm 44. I need to take care of the ticker a little bit more, Joe. I'm good with the weights. It's just the cardio I'm not good with.
You may consider racquetball. That's my game. That's how I do my cardio.
Racquetball.
Oh yeah, it's high endurance, fast. It's kind of like football, but without all the impact. Just a thought.
I was wondering how the ball doesn't hit more guys, because that thing's going, or when you swing the rackets and you hit somebody in the head with the racket, because it's not a huge court.
It's like any sport. It takes practice and excellence. What's a bad? Yeah, you can wear your football helmet on the court. That'd be hilarious. What's a bad habit you want to break?
Tobacco.
Chew?
It's chew for a long time, and then it's cigars, and that's the vice that haunts me.
Okay, got it. And pick 3 words to describe who you are now.
I think I'm courageous. I think I'm courageous, vulnerable, and I love to learn.
Nice. Awesome. Pick 3 words to describe who you were before you recommitted your life back to God.
Selfish, materialistic, and vain.
Got it. And last question, Matt, if you could come back to life, look your wife in the eyes, your 8 kids in the eyes, and give them only one piece of advice about life, about eternity, about everything, what would you say to them?
Don't ever stop following God. Don't ever stop going to church. Don't do what I did.
BC Nation, keep the faucet of God on. Any final wisdom, Matt? What's the one thing you want my listener to know about having that deep relationship with God the Father versus not?
Yeah. Recently, I heard somebody describe it. We talked about your relationship, but they said they called it the friendship. How's your friendship with Jesus? And that's different. And we all come at we're all broken. We've gone through whatever we've gone through. We're all messed up. We talk about relationship with God, but friendship has a different tone, right?
Mhm.
And that's what been telling my kids a lot lately. I said, "How's your friendship with Jesus?" And that's not just for them, but that's for me too. I can forget as well. And yeah, Jesus is our friend. God is our Father. And man, when we take a step back and realize, I mean, just even look around, like all this is going to be gone someday, right? Like take a second to just notice all the miracles around us every single day and understand there's no way that this world, that this solar system can be random, and that our God is so good. He's so great. He made us. He loves us. I mean, it's like he has to be real. Like there's no way he can't be real. There's no way this can be random. It's just always remember that don't get distracted. Don't get caught up in don't make the trivial important. Keep what's important important.
Keep the main thing the main thing. God is the
Amen.
main thing.
Amen.
Matt, what's the best way for BC Nation to get in touch with you if they so choose? What do you got for them?
Yeah, you just got our website, mattburkandcompany.com. We do a lot of speaking and consulting, and we just try to do fun stuff with fun people. You can check us out there and reach out to us and email us. We'll email you back. And
Now, you got a book as well. Where can they get that?
yeah, you get a book on the website. It's called All Pro Wisdom: The 7 Choices That Lead to Greatness. And wrote that when I retired. Had a bunch of really good NFL players help me with that, like Aaron Rodgers and Jason Witten and Jared Allen and John Harbaugh and all those guys. It's a really good book for. It's not a hard read. It's not supposed to be, but there's 7 questions or 7 choices that all of us should make. And from what I've heard, really good book for high school, college, young adults who are really trying to figure things out. But all of us need to keep these 7 questions in mind as we go through the journey of life.
Fantastic. BC Nation, go to mattburkandcompany.com. Matt Birk, thank you for being on Broken Catholic. I wish you God's love, peace, and joy in your life, sir.
Thank you. Peace to you.